What is going on, guys? It is Wrestlelamia here, back with another video. Join us now as we look at this week's edition of Raw, as well as the wildest wrestling news stories and rumors you need to know, including Becky Lynch looking ripped, The Undertaker responds to Bad Bunny, a champion injured, a Hall of Famer backstage, and much more. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos, and follow us on Facebook for exclusive lists. As always, we won't recap the matches, but just take a look at the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. As always, we start off with the good as Kofi Kingston versus Drew McIntyre. The main event of Raw featured Kofi Kingston taking on the Scottish psychopath Drew McIntyre, and the winner of the match would meet Bobby Lashley for the WWE title at Hell in a Cell. The match was without a doubt the match of the night, and the two former WWE champions had a ton of chemistry together in the ring. It was also wonderful to see a main event match on Raw end in a clean finish, something we haven't had for various weeks. And although it would have been nice to see the push of Kofi continue, the match just showed how good Kofi is in the ring and how WWE can always rely on Kofi to have a quality main event match. Number 2, Jimmy Smith. Last night's edition of Raw featured commentary debut of Jimmy Smith. This came after former Raw lead announcer Adnan Virk was released from the WWE last week, following a rather underwhelming few weeks on Raw. Jimmy received really positive reviews from fans for his first night on the job. Specific praise came from Smith's one-liners. Smith would throw out one-liners such as, "You go to sleep with dogs, you wake up with fleas. Go to sleep with vipers, you wake up with fangs. And ring ropes are like sidewalks to these guys." Okay, the last one needed some improvement, but a great debut nonetheless. But that was the good. What about the bad? Is number 1, Drew McIntyre versus Bobby Lashley. Again? Now, although Kofi Kingston versus Drew McIntyre was a fantastic main event of Raw, it did leave fans questioning why WWE had yet again decided to book Drew versus Bobby Lashley on pay-per-view. They've had a number of matches over the past few months, and fans are clamoring for something new. Now, it's rumored that the match between the two at the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view will take place inside a Hell in a Cell itself, and this will actually end the feud once and for all. If it does happen, it'll mark the first time in WWE history that both Drew and Lashley have competed in the Hell in a Cell structure. Number 2, another tag team breakup. A Raw featured Omos and AJ Styles defending the Raw Tag Team titles against the duo of Elias and Jackson Ryker. It appears as if this will be the last time that Elias and Ryker team up, as the WWE decided to break them up at last night's Raw. Elias would drop to the floor during their tag match when Ryker went for the tag. Then in a backstage segment, Elias informed Ryker that he didn't want to be around him anymore as he was far too unhinged. It's unclear why WWE have yet again broken up another tag team. Elias and Ryker have only been together for a short period, so it appears as if the WWE prefers them as singles wrestlers. Why not just do that in the first place? We just can't understand why WWE just keeps breaking up tag teams after tag teams. And don't get us started on RK Bro, that's definitely going to end up in a split, adding another tag team to the casualty list. Number 3, Reginald versus Shayna Baszler. Now, we have been openly critical in terms of how WWE have seemingly booked the Raw Women's division to revolve around Reginald. Well, last night on Raw was no different, as Reginald would go one-on-one with former NXT Women's Champion Shayna Baszler. The match itself will last a total of 4 minutes before fire emerged from the turnbuckle, which would allow Reginald to roll up Shayna for the victory. Of course, this appears to be the work of Alexa Bliss and Lily, and it appears that Shayna is our first target. But seriously, just look at the booking of Shayna Baszler. Last year, she was dominating all the females in the Elimination Chamber match, and now she's getting losses to Reginald. Yeah, okay, it was by distraction, but still, WWE's booking of Shayna Baszler has just been terrible. Number 3, rematches. WWE continues to have an issue of being the same matches on a weekly basis. As we mentioned previously, Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre are set to meet yet again at the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. However, in terms of Raw, WWE would book Cedric Alexander to take on Shelton Benjamin for the 3rd week in a row. We're unsure how booking the same matches over and over is supposed to get us invested in a feud, but nevertheless, it's what WWE insists on doing. Number 4, Naomi and Lana versus Dana Brooke and Mandy Rose. The tag match between Lana and Naomi taking on Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke is our final bad point of Raw from last night. The match itself was just under 4 minutes long and never seemed to get going. It certainly didn't help that these two are babyface teams, meaning the match just came across as awkward and didn't really have a good place on the show. Now, it appears as if WWE are building Mandy and Dana up to potentially challenge new women's tag team champions Natalya and Tamina, which would be a breath of fresh air. However, this match certainly wasn't. Overall, Raw wasn't too bad this week, but the continuous trope of rematches is really hurting it bad. Let's hope next week we can at least get through one Raw without another rematch. What did you guys think of Raw? Let us know in the comments down below. Now let's move on to the news. Our first story looks at Becky Lynch looking shredded in a new Instagram post. And there are a lot of rumors surrounding when former Raw Women's Champion Becky Lynch will make her return to WWE. Some fans predict that she will return at SummerSlam, while some say she won't return until Wrestlemania season next year. But whilst fans wait for the return of one of the most popular female superstars ever, thanks to Seth Rollins' Instagram page, fans get to see a proper look at Becky Lynch, and they got to see what incredible shape she's in. Rollins would upload a new group photo of the bunch of students from the Black and Brave Wrestling Academy, and also in the photo is Becky, who looks to be in the best shape of her life and clearly looks ready for a WWE return. We did see an image of Becky previously, but it wasn't clear enough. Now we can see the results. Next up, a WWE Hall of Famer backstage at Raw. During last night's edition of Raw, PW Insider reported that WWE Hall of Famer Molly Holly was backstage for the show. They reported that Molly was trying out to become a producer for the show, but they didn't mention how the tryout went or if she will continue the role. Molly being in this role would be a huge step forward for WWE, as the role of a producer is traditionally a male-dominated role in WWE, so it would be great to see a legendary female talent have a go at that position. Next up, The Undertaker reacts to Bad Bunny. Bad Bunny's match at WrestleMania 37 received widespread acclaim from fans. Bad Bunny had one of the best matches of the pay-per-view. Of course, this was after reports that Bunny had trained extensively leading up to the match, virtually putting his music career on hold so that he could focus on his WWE venture. During a recent appearance on HBO's The Shop Uninterrupted, Bad Bunny would comment on his time in WWE, and he stated that wrestling is 100% real, and also commented on the admiration he had for other superstars. It's real, it's 100% real. It's insane. When I was learning the first day and they were teaching me how to fall, take bumps, I said, how can these people do this for 20 to 30 years? Guys like Undertaker, Triple H, and so many others receiving that pain. Bunny's appearance on the HBO show received a lot of attention from wrestling legends, but none were bigger than The Undertaker, who would tweet, "Well said, Bad Bunny, you did us all proud at WrestleMania." Bunny has without a question changed the perception of celebrities getting involved in wrestling, and it'll be interesting to see how they utilize Bunny if he decides to return. And finally, a champion was injured. A US champion, Sheamus, would compete in back-to-back matches on last night's Raw. He would lose to Ricochet and then lose to Humberto Carrillo. In the second match, it appears as if Sheamus had suffered a serious injury, as blood would appear on Sheamus' nose following a stiff strike. PW Insider reported following the match that Sheamus had suffered a legitimate broken nose in the match, but they didn't comment on if he will miss any time away from WWE. Sheamus would post a selfie on social media following the match with the caption, "Utter scumbaggery on Raw," so it appears that WWE may be running with the storyline that Carrillo broke Sheamus' nose. Now, it would be a massive loss for WWE if Sheamus needs time off. This has been one of the best runs of his career, and it would be a shame for this to be halted thanks to his injury. But there you have it, folks, the wildest wrestling news stories and rumors you need to know, as well as the good, the bad, and the downright ugly of Raw. Let us know your comments down below, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.